Anyway, on to the next topic. The actor Alec Baldwin's what was it? Involuntary manslaughter charge was dismissed because of suppressed evidence. And this is kind of a dirty thing that's happened here that I wanted to
I
talk about a little bit. But anyway, the involuntary manslaughter charge against Alec Baldwin in the 2021 shooting death of Rust cinematographer Helena Hutchins has been abruptly dismissed on the grounds that prosecutors and law enforcement withheld evidence that might have been favorable to the actor's defense.
I had no idea any of this shit was going on.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
This is nuts. Like this is
So,
like
do you know what happened to start all of this, Katie?
I read the whole article.
Okay. So essentially, what
So
happened, just to let people know out there, if I remember correctly, is during a filming scene for the movie Rust, he pointed a prop gun, what he thought was a prop gun, at the camera and pulled the trigger. And the person using the camera was shot and killed. There was live ammunition in this prop gun. Um, so different procedures and things were called into question on why this happened, how come there was no checks and balances, all of those things. And somehow or another, at the end of the day, they decided that there was enough there to charge Alec Baldwin with a crime, which to me just
that
seems ridiculous.
absolutely whoever put that gun there, whoever was in charge of that gun should be the one. For
So
one.
essentially, what prosecutors were saying in the case is they believe that by him pointing the gun at the camera and pulling the trigger, that
Shows
proves
intent.
that, well, not intention but negligence. So with an involuntary manslaughter charge, the involuntary means that you weren't intending damage. It just simply
Yeah.
means that the state has to prove negligence. And if you can't, then there's no involuntary manslaughter charge. It's all about that word, negligence. And I don't see how somebody could be held negligent if they're not the one in charge of the prop gun. Now, mind you,
Exactly.
Alec Baldwin was not just the star of this movie, but he was also part of the production team for the movie. I don't know if he was a producer or a director. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, the case has been dismissed. And the judge, who was she's a first judicial district judge named Mary Marlowe Summer, handed down what people call her surprise ruling on the third day of the trial. The judge dismissed the charge Friday afternoon with prejudice, meaning prosecutors cannot refile the same claim. Okay, that's very important to understand. Without prejudice, if a judge says without prejudice, that means new charges can be filed for the same crime. Whenever you hear the term with prejudice, it means that's done. It's over. You cannot charge him anymore, period. So, in order for them to charge him with a crime for this event, they would have to charge him with something different. Then
Yeah.
they can't charge him involuntary manslaughter again. Anyway, Baldwin sobbed into his hands as the judge read out her order, with wife Hilaria Baldwin, sister Elizabeth Kickler, and brother Stephen Baldwin leaning forward in their seats behind him. Now, earlier in the day, the judge made the unusual move of excusing the jury for the day so the court could consider the merits of Baldwin's latest motion to dismiss the case, which was filed Thursday evening. I really want to get into the concealment of this because I think there should be more charges here against the state somehow. I don't know how they'll do it, but Baldwin's lawyers alleged in their filing that Santa Fe sheriffs and state prosecutors, quote unquote, concealed from Baldwin evidence that could be linked to the source of the bullet that killed Hutchins. Prosecutors and sheriffs argued that the evidence had no relevance or value to Baldwin's case. And so essentially what happens is they say it's not relevant. And if they determine, they being the state, that it's not relevant, they think they can decide whether or not the defense can see it too. If they deem
Yep.
it's not relevant, then it's not relevant according to them. But that's not the way law works. Law works
Nope.
in if there's evidence, both sides get to see the evidence. If both
Yep.
sides don't have access to that, that's called a mistrial. That's all grounds for that shit. So
Mm.
basically, the defense and the prosecution do not have the right to determine what is relevant evidence and what isn't. Only the judge has that right. And in this case, the judge has essentially, um, she has essentially determined that that evidence could have been relevant.
Yep.
And that's all they need is could have been relevant, right? You can't withhold that from the jury.
Nope.
But let's see here.
Um.
Of course, there'll probably be appeals and all of those things as well, but chances are very good that this is going to uphold. This will be upheld. And then something has to happen to these prosecutors, in my opinion, because that's a big no-no when you're trying to withhold evidence that you think is not relevant. What say you, Kadie?
Man, this whole thing is just fucked up. But I don't think, regardless of him pointing a gun, pulling the trigger, I don't think in any way he should have been charged.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It was probably just his fucking gun sitting on a table. He picked it up, fucking around, and boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was probably just no thing. I would have done that. Because I like to fuck around and find out. Not like that. But, like, I just mess around. I'm a goofy motherfucker. And I would have done something like that. And I can't imagine how mortified he must have been.
And
It should
honestly,
be
I
the
can't
person in
imagine.
charge.
Yeah, I can't imagine
Okay.
the feeling in the room when it happened. Like, what the hell? You know what the what? But to me,
And
go ahead.
that's like shooting point blank at somebody. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like it. I'm sure it felt like more like he was responsible more than like what he really is. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
And with in this day and age of CGI, I know when this first came out, my initial impression was, man, why in the 21st century, 2024, are we still allowing these kind of safety lapses to happen when we have
Yep.
CGI, we have AI for this shit now. Like, very simple for somebody to just create that feel without actually putting a gun into an actor's hand. It's not that difficult. Like, I see teenagers doing it with Photoshop every single day on TikTok. You
And
can't
not
tell
even
me.
that.
Yeah,
A prop gun is a prop gun. Make a fucking prop gun. Don't have a real damn gun. Are you
right.
stupid?
Because then you're putting your entire life into somebody else's hands again, and that's a lot
You
of
could have an
trust.
actor that just flipped shit one day.
Yep. You just never know. You just never know, and just not only that, but you know you're keeping long hours in that business as well. So it's very easy for shit to get overlooked a little bit. I think.
Mm-hmm.